So I'm going to show two rear foot elevated split squat variations. One is a traditional rear foot elevated split squat, bilateral. I'll show the other variations, contra and ipsilateral loaded variations very quickly, but I'm going to show the bilateral variation, and then I'm also going to show an oscillation, a rear foot elevated oscillation, which is another great movement for still driving stimulus while keeping fatigue and overall intensity low. So for the rear foot elevated split squat, some people coach having the toe, the back toe just chilling. I actually prefer, if you can, having this foot pretty active just so that we can also work on training that lengthened position of the quadricep here on the back leg. But for the bilateral variation, you're going to be holding two weights. Everyone talks about setup, and I think for setup, the best setup is just making sure that whenever you go down, you're not jamming your legs up and you're also not getting a stretch in your hip flexor. You should not be super wide with this stance, with this setup position. You should be able to drop down to the ground without having to collapse the torso because you are so jammed up. You're too close together. Your legs are too close together. So keeping a slight hunch in the upper back, bracing my core. I'm going to think less about driving forward, even though I will have a little bit more weight on this front foot. Think about driving the back knee to the ground, keeping whole foot pressure in the front foot, and also keeping pressure in the back foot as well, just not whole foot, just in the ball of that foot. Coming down slow, controlled, and then driving back up. This is the bilateral variation. If you want to go contralateral, you're going to drop one weight and you're going to hold the hand opposite to the leg that's in front. This is great at pulling somebody into internal rotation. So this is a great variation for somebody who tends to flare the hips or has a little bit harder time working on maintaining internal rotation or a neutral pelvic position whenever they're going into any kind of unilateral or split stance variation. So same concept though, whole foot pressure, making sure your feet are at a good distance. Best way to honestly measure this is to film yourself and to watch as well. Or if you have a mirror, you can watch yourself in the mirror whenever you set up. Drive the knee down to the ground, whole foot pressure. Let that front knee drive over the toe though. And then complete repetitions this way. Again, I'm not collapsing the torso as I go down. And ipsilateral is same side. So it's challenging here now your ability to pull into internal rotation, maintain neutral pelvic position, and it also tends to light up that whatever leg's in front, glute medius, lateral glute, a little bit more. Same concept though, still driving that back knee down, and my quad actually, just doing this demo, it's getting lit up in the lengthened position here, and I'm maintaining whole foot pressure, letting that front knee drive over the toe whenever I complete this exercise. So that is I almost feel like I need to do a few reps on the other side just to even myself out, but I'll show for the oscillation. So that is the rear foot elevated split squat, traditional in bilateral, contralateral, and ipsilateral positions or stances, setups. The other exercise, which is great for, again, getting stimulus while reducing overall fatigue, is a rear foot elevated split squat oscillation. You can do this weighted. You can also do this body weight. It's up to you, but in the oscillation, you want to be able to get into that proper position for the rear foot elevated split squat. Same exact concept, right? Slight, not necessarily, you don't want to flare the chest. You also don't want to overly hunch the chest here, but you want to have rib cage stacked over pelvis. You want to have whole foot pressure in that front foot. You want to be able to drive the back knee straight down to the floor. And when I go into this oscillation, I'm not coming all the way back up. I'm maintaining about 2/3 position before dropping back down into this split squat position here. And I'm just oscillating. It doesn't have to be super quick like a crazy bounce, but you do want to make it have a little bit of a plyometric element to it. So that is a rear foot elevated oscillation. You can also see on this other side, this left foot, bringing it down, coming up about 2/3 of the way, and I am just, again, oscillating in that position, whether it is for time or repetitions. That is the rear foot elevated split squat plus oscillation.